Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is FlipNIC Ultimate Pinball for the PlayStation 2, developed by SCEI and published by Capcom in 2003. This is another pinball game, but it's certainly different than every other pinball game that I've looked at on this channel so far. Now when you load the disc, the first thing you're going to be treated to is a song and an animation of a monkey fishing and singing a song to a digitized version of the melody, Bicycle Built for Two. I could not have predicted this introduction if you forced me. To say it was unexpected, I think that underplays exactly what we were looking at here. You pop in the disc, and then this runs. Wasn't expecting it. Overall, this is not a traditional pinball game, but I think it really works. We're not looking at any sort of specifically branded tables, no pop culture themes, no bands, no movies, no television shows, no franchises. What we have here, though, is a series of unique sprawling tables and ramps that sort of stretch out, and they're sort of shaped in odd ways. And at times this game is going to feel a little like a roller coaster, and at other times it's going to feel sort of like a dream almost. You can play the base mode of this game, and if you do, you have to perform certain pinball feats in order to unlock the next table in the list. You do this by performing specific actions on the current table. Just run the game and press select when you're on a level, and it'll tell you what you need to accomplish to get to the next table. These are not easy feats to accomplish by any means, and they're going to take time. But it's definitely fun when you make one of them. If you're looking for a challenge, this would be the mode you wanted to play. If that's your thing too, you also want to make sure you save your game when the system alerts you. And also, as far as saves go, I'm pretty sure this game doesn't automatically load these saves when you reboot the system. I think you have to do this manually when you load a game. That appears to be what I had to do in order to get my save to be looked at. But there's also a free play mode in this one, and truthfully, this is probably the best place for everyone to start. You can choose any other tables available in the game, and it's really a good idea that they included this, because I think if they just forced people to go through the first mode and have to make everyone purposefully unlock different tables, I think that would have been a really rough experience. I think you would have lost a significant portion of your audience at that point. If you want to get a sample of what the game is actually like, you can also just load the disc and wait. It's going to run through a pretty decent series of samples for the different video screens available here. They splice a whole video together just showing you the tables, the mini games, all the little stuff that you can find as you play. It's pretty involved, and I was impressed that they did it this way. Usually, a lot of companies will just do a little bit of gameplay, but here, they spliced a bunch of stuff together. To control this one, you have to use the left directional and the circle button on the controller. These are your left and right flippers. You also use the L2 and R2 buttons to nudge the table one way or the other, but you can also tilt the game like you normally can with the pinball game. The flipper controls also can control multiple flippers on a given table. They also control specific bumpers as well. You can press the button and make the bumpers go up and down, so if your ball jumps into another zone, you want to probably press those buttons to make sure you understand what the actual controls are. You've entered a new screen, things could be different. Sometimes you actually use this to your advantage. You can press the button and drop a bumper. That might allow a pinball to pass through a certain zone, and then maybe you raise that bumper again, and now you've trapped a ball inside a section. It's a really great mechanic, and it helps make the tables more interesting. Specifically on the first table, you can actually trap a ball in this little tree area, because you have to bounce the ball off the tree to trigger multi-ball. Lowering the bumpers, raising the bumpers. It's pretty awesome. Now, when you lock a pinball in certain channels, it'll give you a little text warning on screen, at least in the first game. If you press the left flipper, it's going to push the pinball right back into play. But if you press the right flipper, it's going to shoot the pinball backwards through the ramp, and it's going to run off the table, down a ramp, off to somewhere else. It usually brings you to a minigame area of some kind, and sometimes on the ramp as the pinball travels, you might see coins that are just above the ramp. If you press the flipper button, you can jump your pinball and try to catch those coins. I think these ramps are awesome. It's really nice to see you have a pinball that's cruising through a totally different area to get somewhere else. It's awesome. On the first table, after a while, you might also get a splash screen that pops up with a warning. I keep getting this warning. It basically says a big alien spaceship is coming. This basically puts you on a timer, and you need to perform a feat before the time runs out or you're going to lose a pinball. Now overall, the presentation of this pinball game, it's really different than pretty much all the other games that I've reviewed until this point. And it might actually be the fact that there's actually a presentation here. It's different. It's really different. It's not just a game confined to the exact shape and size of a standard pinball table, and it's not confined to a specific franchise or style. They've really focused on visuals. It's great. Now, when certain events happen here, the screen might actually change in front of you as well, and it gives you a couple of seconds to take a break. That's pretty clever. Happens on different tables for different reasons. In terms of tables, this game has a total of 4 different tables, but also 3 variations off of those tables, so it gives us 7. The first table is called Biology, and it's probably the closest to a standard table in the whole mix. The table does have odd angles though, and of course with the ramps it's going to run all over the place, but I guess in terms of the initial table, the basic table size, it kind of feels the most normal out of the bunch, I guess. The theme is you're going to find animals, butterflies, every now and again a monkey shows up, and it's basically stuff that's going to fit in with the biology theme. I guess, except for the occasional alien spaceship that shows up, of course. Now, this table has a variation. It's the B biology table, and it's basically the exact same table, but it's at nighttime, so all the colors are different. They're not reversed, but it's dark. And the layout of all the tables and the plungers, everything has been reversed. So if you play the game the normal A mode for a while and you flip it to the B mode, you're certainly going to recognize the table, but you'll probably be just as lost as I was when I first tried this table. When you flip the table and change all the colors, it works, but it suddenly messes with all the timing you've been developing. It's really pretty neat. The next table is called Metallurgy, and it's a tiny initial table. At first, it feels really unnatural because it's so small. You just got to get that ball out of that little space and up some sort of a ramp. When you do that, you're going to see a huge network of ramps, and they're all going to shoot off in different directions to different mini tables elsewhere. It's a lot of fun. This has a variation on this table. It's the B table, and it's going to be basically all these crazy networks reversed, and also the color stylings are more gray. The next table is the Optics table, and it's another small table at first. You just got to get that ball out of that first area and up a ramp fast. It's going to sprawl into plenty of other mini tables everywhere. Now, this one is dark. It's heavy black with glowing lines. Honestly, it looks like Tron to me. It just feels like the game would be Tron. There are clear paddles. There are lots of black in here. There's all these light bluish lines crisscrossing everywhere. It's really visually stunning. The variation on that table is pretty much the same thing reversed. However, instead of a focus being on blue, it's more on green. So now instead of this table feeling more like it belongs in Tron, it kind of feels like it belongs more towards like Matrix as opposed to Tron. All the green. It looks good. The last table is called Geometry, and this one is totally different than all the other tables. It's weird. It's suddenly a table that would probably seem more at home on an Atari console, or maybe even the NES. It's like they tried to mix pinball with Arkanoid. It's a 2-dimensional table, and you need to get the ball bounced up and around to all the right spots, of course, but sometimes you have areas of bricks, and you have to break those bricks with the ball. You have a different control scheme here too, and you need to use the analog sticks to control paddles like you would in the game Arkanoid. You move them from side to side to try to get under the ball to bounce it back upwards. Overall, I have to say this is a surprising and good pinball game. The table variety is decent, the graphics are great, and there's a ton of mini-games along the way. If you're a video pinball fan, this is probably a good one for you to have in the collection. It's really interesting. Well, that's all I have today for FlipNIC Ultimate Pinball for the PlayStation 2. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on another video.